I ain't got no problem with B. I've been knowing B for quite some time. I've always been a fan of Brandon from afar.
What happened? Why did you guys break up?
Carissa.
I'm gonna crank up Freddie.
Bad business Brandon.
No way. No way.
Don't get in the comments talking just reckless junk. They did pay. No, they didn't. They all claim they didn't. Everybody claimed that Brandon foot the bill. Brandon put the number out there, 11 million. Ain't nobody else said they put no initial money in. So I don't want to hear all y'all in the comments. Yes, they did. Shut up. In a loving way. Please shut the hell up. Okay,
That's why we called it a pivot, and that's why it wasn't a mistake. RC, was it a mistake to pivot? You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like it was overnight. Like we saw what was going on, and we said we had to move in a different direction.
Right, because we got a video from January 4th. Where we got Fred talking about, oh, there's no problem with B. We support everything that they're doing. Then you fast forward to February, which is just a little over a month later, because the first thing was January 4th. Now I'm looking at a clip from February 10th where they're calling Brandon Bad Business Brandon. Brandon's the one that just did bad business, just him by himself? Because the January 4th video that Fred did was all we could have did better. We just going our separate ways. We're still brothers, but we doing different things. And Dame Dash, I think he's talking about Dame Dash. Dame Dash was telling me that we got to do better business, blah, 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 blah. There was a whole lot of shared culpability. Fast forward to February 10th, bad business Brandon. Brandon just bad business. He doesn't care about the interpersonal. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't value people. What is there? Are there things happening behind the scenes that are changing this, or like that are causing this to evolve in a different, nastier way? Like from the initial break, like what is it? Because like it's not making no sense. It's just like. Just accept everybody accept your piece in the situation and move the hell on. Like, what is it? What is the issue? Like I said, if I'm RC, I'm sitting around like, do you want to be back over there with them, or can we like, can we just do us? Like, you guys are doing some great stuff, all in your own right. You are still you, whether you're on the pivot or whether you're on I Am Athlete or whether you do something completely different to yourself. You are still you. You still bring the value that you bring, whether somebody else sees it or not. But I'm just confused as to how things ended one way, and every couple of months or something, it's like a whole nother. It's more stank on it. Every time something else comes, I think I flashed back to my last video talking about all this extra on top of stuff. It's always some extra stank on stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, can we just not let this be a done deal, or is this like a extra machine for additional clicks and views? If that's the case, cool, but you ain't really necessarily got to drag Brandon's name to do that. You just say like. You could talk about it, say, okay, the situation transpired, we didn't agree on this and that, or the third, or whatever, we had a difference of opinion, but they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing, and we're moving forward. But I never say never, but I probably you disrespected me as a man. What can somebody shed light on the man code disrespect part? If we're gonna keep bringing it up, what happened? Did he treat you like a child? Kind of like maybe I probably would if I was paying $11 million and people was in my face about wanting to equal share something that nobody was helping me with. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, was it that? Could he have been better at delivery on something? Was there something where you felt like the delivery was terrible versus necessarily what was being said, but how it was being said or how things were being done? Like, what part was that? Because all I hear is that you guys are upset about you not getting your way on the business side, which you would have never gotten.
No way. No way.
And to the credit of you are doing better business, now the reason why you would be able to make sure that would never happen with the pivot is because y'all took care of business on the front end, and that all of you all have talked about. But anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. Let's go to this video. First of all, with Channing. Not Channing. Let's go to this video first of all with Fred. Kind of initially, like in January of this year, talking about the situation.
Yeah, because Fred, people are gonna say, "Are you and Brandon cool? Is there beef? What's going?" Because people are gonna ask that because like you said, that show was so damn successful.
Right. But that's what people want to do, especially this day and age. That's sexy in itself. I ain't got no problem with beef. I've been knowing B for quite some time. I've always been a fan of Brandon from afar. When he came to South Florida to play for the Dolphins, he moved a block over in my same neighborhood. We were neighbors for several years, and that's how it all evolved. He drove around on his golf cart during the pandemic, and at the beginning of the pandemic, he said, "Yo, what'd you think about this?" I'm like, "Cool, I'm down on ownership, black production company. I love it all, man. Let's make it happen." So to answer your question, ain't no beef. People gonna speculate that. They was wondering where I was, this and that. A few occasions I had with some scheduling issues. I had some opportunities to do some appearances and make some money and do some other stuff. So a few of those situations sort of didn't marry up with my schedule. A few other situations out of my control, right? Just keeping it 100.
So let me pause at 304. Now you heard him say, "Oh, ain't no problems with Brandon. That's what the people. That's sexy to the media. That's some stuff that don't have nothing to do with us. Everything's fine. We just go in different directions or whatever. And I wasn't involved in this or that. But that was just scheduling. Kind of the way stuff worked out. We gonna always be brothers. I've known Brandon since back. ... What are we? How do we get to where we are today? Anyway,
conversation, talk about life, talk about sports, and the same thing. The message doesn't change, man. I wish we could have really pushed forward with IAA. Brandon's going to keep pushing forward, and I support that. That's what I text him, when we talked about going different ways. I made sure, look, I support everything you do with House of Athlete. I am athlete. We're still brothers, man. And, ain't no beef, ain't no animosity, ain't no sideways stuff. It's just his business and his vision didn't necessarily align with what everybody else expected or wanted. And that's business.
That's business.
So I think the young guys got to understand that too. One of the greatest hip hop companies ever formed, Rockefeller Records, Jay and Dame Dash, Biggs, they didn't necessarily get it right. And, I listen to Dame a lot, about buckling up the business, being brothers and making sure everybody get a fair cut, and I wish we had listened to some of that before we actually went further in the podcast, because, the truth is the business wasn't buckled up. So now we just got to pivot and go try to shoot our shot and do our own thing.
So I'm gonna stop it at 510 right there. So, but like he said, okay, yeah, the truth of the matter is we didn't have the business right. Okay, stuff happens. Other legends that we know about, Dame Dash, Jay-Z or whatever, they had their issues or whatever like that. That was a real loose reference to a whole lot of nonsense from the past. But to his point, the business wasn't done right. We have our relationship and all that kind of stuff, but the business have to be done right for us to stay on one accord and walk together. Cool. And no real other issue outside of we didn't handle business together as friends. We didn't handle it right. Cool. Going our separate ways. No issues. Now, cut to February. Cut to February. This is why this one caveat I'm always gonna have. There are many things that probably transpire behind the scenes in between interviews going out, or whatever like that. So I don't know if something have changed. It would be lovely to know or just have some sort of insight to it, because it just stuff look crazy from the public viewpoint and when you just getting different stuff out here. But let me go to this February 10th video.
You guys have had a very successful podcast the past couple of years alongside Brandon Marshall and Chad Johnson. And you really revolutionized the way people look at athletes. You humanize yourself and talk about real issues. And that's no more. You've started your own podcast, The Pivot, and there's got to be a reason for that. So, what happened? Why did
This
you guys
messy
break
lady
up?
Carissa.
We'll crank up, Freddie.
Bad business Brandon.
Pause right here at 24 seconds. Pause. Bad business Brandon. So now we went from this is from the same mouth of the person just in January saying, hey, you know, we could have done things better. Like we all could have been on one accord. That's my brother, da da da. A month later, bad business Brandon. Brandon happened. That's what happened. Really? Because as far as I'm concerned, all of y'all would sleep at the wheel in certain aspects of this business deal. But so now it's just Brandon. Like, take accountability for your. That's the dangerous part. Feeling like, I guess when you never take accountability for the piece that you play, you are likely to repeat certain aspects of things that will be detrimental to you. Nobody else but you. Thankfully, it sounds like things are properly worked out for the pivot. I think some people might think I like have an issue with the pivot or have an issue with Fred or Channing, whatever. I do not. Like, I really think that there are teachable moments from this that people can learn about how to preserve relationships when you do business with each other. This is not a small thing. Like, people's, you know, take these individuals out of it. When you do business with people or whatever, when you try to like enter into those agreements, people whole life sometimes is like wrapped up in that. Like, not to be what you call it, over the top or not to be dramatic, but some people's livelihoods for how they feed their kids, all that kind of stuff is wrapped up in these deals. You got to be thinking about that when you are leaning on personal relationships to help to support yourself and those who depend on you. You can't just be doing stuff, you know, and then now you want to have a problem later on when nobody did the work in the beginning to make sure things were on the same page. Don't ask me about no equity when I paid $11 million. You probably didn't even know what that number was because you ain't pay none of it. Don't ask me that. Like, or if you do, then you want 27%. What's 27% of 11 million? Pay it. What you talking about? Valuation? I mean, like, and maybe I'm not even giving no more caveats. It just didn't make no sense. Sorry. Deal with it point blank and take ownership for your part and then be done, like, for real. But anyway, bad business Brandon. Let me skip to now Channing chiming in, who before was more like, okay, I just want to, you know, when he was on Busting with the Boys, like, yeah, you know, I just, you know, with my friends, we would just push through and, you know, just, you know, let it be what it is, you know. Now
DM me from different places and you're thinking, okay, you're growing this together. And then, you know, Brandon doesn't really value other people like we value the friendship. And that's what it was. It was just a inconsiderate approach to how the business was being done, and to where now it's blowing up. Now the business is going, now money's starting to come in. And now, you know, I'm not an employee. We're not employees. Really? We're creators. We're a part of this. And it was just so the fundamentals.
Do you think you was treated like an employee?
RC.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Once you start talking about business, you know, business and contracts and where we're gonna go, it's we're gonna, you know, give you this much purpose, so this much and that. And it was like, no. We're from the grassroots. We're equity.
We didn't pay nothing from the beginning,
all
but we
built
was
together. And Brandon didn't think of it that way.
I
So we had
wouldn't
to, had to pivot.
And had to pivot. That's great.
You know, we had to go our different direction. And people make podcasts.
Yes.
Names don't make podcasts. So the pivot's a great, you know, we love the name, we love the, you know, the branding of it, but people make podcasts, and that's what Brandon doesn't do. He doesn't value people.
Okay, let me press pause. 242. Brandon doesn't value people. Brandon doesn't value people. He could say the same thing about you all sitting there letting him pay and foot the bill for everything. I mean, he got his own stuff he could be dealing with. I mean, did you all ever offer to pay for anything? Did you all ever offer any direction on where things, you know, the direction of the business and how it should go? And you say previously you guys said he took it upon himself to, you know, make a lot of decisions. Okay, where were you all during that process? Weren't you sitting there? Weren't you in the seats and chairs with the light shining on you that he made sure he paid for? Like, this later on in something else I'm going to show, Brandon said he paid $11 million, invested $11 million. And everybody agrees that Brandon footed the bill. I wonder, do you all even know if that's the right number or not? Because were you involved enough to even know what he was spending? I also want to know, just to be fair, I want to know from Brandon's standpoint, was it $11 million based on just the podcast, or was it $11 million based on the podcast, House of Athlete, gyms and other stuff? So Brandon did an interview with Sports Illustrated, right? Like just kind of a real, like a short clip or whatever, kind of going over a few things where he just wanted to maybe address a little bit of this.
Everything's not necessarily buttoned up from the beginning. But yeah, Fred's right. Invested $11 million into the company. And it's not just I Am Athlete. You know, there's 67 employees and a couple consultants here and there. You know, I think they're doing well. We're doing well. And, you know, now it's about moving forward and keeping things, you know, steady.
Because you've been silent on the matter, this is actually the...
I'm gonna press pause at 140. So Brandon did say it's not just I Am Athlete, it's 67 employees and some other things. So some of that sounds like where I think the disconnect is. I think some of this, if I'm understanding this correctly, some of this is where it sounds like that Brandon has equated the valuation of I Am Athlete in conjunction with House of Athlete. Because I mean, I could be wrong, but it sounds like this is part of what's the disconnect between the valuations. Like when Fred says it's 20-fold, or you know, it's way more than it should be for me to be invested at a certain percentage, right? Because it sounds like he said, this is going to be like a part of this is an arm of the gym business, the House of Athlete or whatever. And so if there's 67 different employees, again, I'm really am extrapolating from what he's saying. He hasn't said this directly, but he did say, you know, it's not just I Am Athlete, which leads me to believe what else is there. So there's House of Athlete, and then employees that probably will be in the gyms and the consultants and people who are running I Am Athlete as well behind the scenes and stuff, right? So I think what happened is Brandon said, damn, I'm paying for this whole thing. Nobody really helping me with this or that or whatever. So I'm going to tailor this to, you know, connect this to my House of Athlete brand as well or whatever. And now this is the structure, how it's being laid out. This is being tied to physical locations of gyms as well as the podcast and other things that would grow out from it, right? So I can see on that standpoint, I can see Shannon and Fred being like, whoa, this is like way different than just us talking about just the podcast, you know. So I can see that, and honestly I can see how they could be upset with that, because initially they came together talking about the podcast, right? Not necessarily it being linked to anything else. So we got to be fair on that. Like, that is a departure from what they would have expected originally, from my understanding. Because it sounds like very clearly that was different than what they had imagined things to be moving forward. That being said, I'm not very sympathetic to it being that you all didn't pay for nothing. You didn't even pay for the aspect that you wanted to be involved in until much later down the line. So it's like, it'd be different if, you know, they were footing the bill for everything, paying all kind of stuff at the same time Brandon was paying stuff, involved in all of the business decisions and stuff like that initially to keep everything rolling, and then all of a sudden it switched up. Now we got a problem. But like, it just sounded like I said, y'all were totally unaware. Anyway, that's the one thing I will say is fair to say, like, okay, let's look at evaluation more so based upon the podcast itself, as opposed to it being connected to these other things that we won't necessarily benefit from the same way as you, because it's not that's not our intellectual property, and that's not something we worked on. It's not something we want to buy into, right? So I do think that there should have been some sort of option for Channing and Fred to buy into the podcast itself, separate from House of Athlete and all of that, right? I think it would have been great to allow that. However, it's just one of those things. If you, like I said, if you're not footing the bill for nothing, it's hard for me to really put up too much of a fight about it, because you need to have either at the minimum your paperwork done, or, you know, and beyond that, at least be clear about what percentage you own of something that that you were on the ground floor of. So I give some credence to the argument that they should have been able to buy into the podcast itself directly, but next time put your money on the table like you did with Pivot. That's all I can tell you. Put your money, put the contracts on the table, and none of this is a problem. Don't get in the comments talking just reckless junk. They did pay. No, they didn't. They all claim they didn't. Everybody claimed that Brandon foot the bill. Brandon put the number out there, 11 million. Ain't nobody else said they put no initial money in. So I don't want to hear all y'all in the comments. Yes, they did. Shut up. In a loving way. Please shut the hell up. Okay, listen. So, saying that he's inconsiderate and all this kind of stuff, I just really think that's very one-sided. And think about it from, a person who is funding something, and so now, and then, as Channing would say, when things and stuff start rolling, the money start coming, yeah, and you just lighten up, your little face start lighting up, just grinning. But when what was all of that when it came to the initial investment that this man was putting in? Did he tell you? This is what I want to know. Did he tell you all? No, guys, don't put any money in. I got it. No, guys. I understand exactly where you are. Everybody's equal partners in this. I don't need your investment. I already got it covered. Where was that? Was that in writing somewhere? Were those words said to you? You all are you all have blinders on when it comes to how you fit into something. But I don't think sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you all are fair when it comes to viewing the situation objectively, right? A lot of people, they think I'm on somebody's payroll. I'm really not. I don't know any of these people. But I just, when you see something like this, it's maddening how the viewpoint can be so slanted, against the person who funded the whole situation. And then my issue is that it looks like in a lot of ways they learned the lesson of what transpired and what destroyed their relationship with Brandon. They're making sure that they don't do that with RC, but they're still talking crap about Brandon as if the same thing wouldn't happen likely with RC if they had continued in the same vein of not taking care of your business. Stop acting like this man is inherently evil or something. When all of you all had your part to play. If there is something else that we don't know about that this man did to you guys, I mean, we can't seem to get you to shut up about it. So what was the aspect of it that was so offensive to you all as men? What was the, I would really like to know from their perspective. What part of it was very offensive to them and to their core as men? Because that's important, right? Especially being that these guys were friends before. It's important to know, okay, the business was one thing. What did he do to you guys? Or is it that you're just kind of hurt by the situation? And that's okay. That's okay to be that's what, we were all in on that, and we still dealing with the fallout of, that not working. But it's just, if I was RC, I'd be like, I'm good on talking about another business when I'm talking about my business. Can we talk about the business that I'm a co-owner in now? We don't, can we, the only other way I see that continues and it not be a problem is that you all are using it for additional clicks and views, but whatever. But it's just I don't think y'all need that at this point. I don't. I think you all are doing great things on your own. Just stand on your own and let the negative aspect of what happened beforehand, let that be it and be done. So let me play this piece of RC saying his piece about how they are making sure that what happened with I Am Athlete doesn't happen with the Pivot. It's very important, because that's the wonderful part about it. Do better business moving forward, and don't ever mistreat your personal relationship to the point where you don't understand the importance of, if you guys are going into business together, make sure the business is right to honor your relationships. It's part of honoring your relationship to make sure that nothing comes up that creates confusion and clouds, you know, what you all have built personally, not the business, the personal bond that you all have built. But anyway, let's get to RC at 550. This is what he had to say.
With the quick-witted quips, and that's who we are. And I think it's not about differentiating ourselves from that. It's about building something bigger, building something better. And the only way you do that is by respecting each other. And so when this all started, we got on the phone and we was like, let's chop it up about the business. Because we expect this to be huge, unlike when they started. This wasn't a backyard porch thing. This was a Zoom call contract thing. And that's how we approached it. And so in front of the cameras, it's a podcast, right? Whenever we walking around, it's a friendship. But in the end, it's a business. And we understand that. And we made sure the business was right before we started making shows.
And when you guys started the I Am Athlete podcast, the entire idea was
So
to
let me
just
stop
have
at
a place, a safe
6:39.
place, really.
Okay, what did he just say, guys? He said, in front of the cameras, it's a podcast. Whenever we're around, whenever we're walking around, it's a friendship. But in the end, it's a business, and we understand that. And we made sure the business was right before we started making shows. Okay, that's exactly what should be the case based upon what happened previously. But that don't make you better than Brandon. It just means that y'all learn from y'all previous mistakes. You make it sound like y'all doing the same type of business. Not you, RC, but they make it sound like they doing the same thing they was doing before, but somehow Brandon was nefarious and screwed everything up. No, everybody learned from their previous situation. You all started doing better business so you could preserve your personal relationships you have with other people outside of the business. And so when you started this pivot, y'all came together and said, okay, guys, we had proof of concept from, thankfully, to I Am Athlete, right? So we know that this not gonna, like he said, we just ain't gonna be no backyard, basement, whatever the third he said. This is a business, and we know we should respect it as such, and we should respect our relationships together enough to make sure that the business is done solidly up front. Okay, guys, perfect. They don't make you no better than Brandon. So it just means that you all learn from the failed relationship and what you all had to sacrifice when it comes to the business and the relationship you all had with Brandon. Moving on to the Breakfast Club interview.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Yes, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee, DJ Envy is off today, but we got the host of one of my favorite podcasts, man. Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder. The Pivot Podcast is here. What's happening?
Man, appreciate you having us, baby.
How y'all feeling this morning?
We end up using a lot of your clips on Rumor Report.
A lot.
I just want to say.
We appreciate that. For sure.
A lot lately. I really appreciate what y'all are doing, man, because I think it's dope when people who actually lived it control their own narratives. So what made y'all want to do this?
Go ahead, you know, you started. You got shit. We had to get away from the other situation.
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? And we didn't know what we were gonna do. We just weren't gonna stay over there. And then Channing and I, we talked, and then eventually we had a conversation with RC, and then, you know, we had to pivot from there, and we ended up with the pivot.
Because you already was doing one, right?
Yeah, so I was doing something.
10.
I was doing something.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing something on my own.
Okay,
already,
I'm gonna stop at the 1 minute mark. Can y'all origin story be at least a little bit better crafted than we just had to get away from the other thing? Like, maybe the truth of it is just kind of what it is. But I would have thought that at this point you all would see the pivot or the origin of the pivot as a little bit more than just the next best alternative to the best thing. Like, you know, the next best alternative to IA. Like it's like it's brought up like an afterthought, and I don't understand. Like, it should be, you know, hey, we found a passion, you know, for having a voice in the culture and being able to speak to people's needs or whatever. We found, you know, in regards to the platform, it's a new platform that we're doing together. You know, unfortunately, previous platform did not work out, but this is our passion and whatever. Like, they get to that later, but it's just when people are asking you what made you start something, and the first thing that come out of your mouth is that you was trying to run from the last thing. Like, think about, like, you all own this, so it's great because it's more of an entrepreneur conversation than it is like of an employee. But if I'm interviewing somebody, like, you know, for, you know, corporate, you know, in my corporate dealings, and I'm interviewing someone, and I ask you why you want to work here, why you're here, and you tell me I had to get away from such and such, I am concerned. Because I don't want to be the escape route. I want to be special in my own right, you know, and part of that may just be interviewing BS, but some of it is like, really, like, no, it got to be deeper than just what you're trying to run from or escape. So the messaging behind, I mean, maybe it's just the truth of it and y'all just keep it funky and that's cool, but like at a certain point, I would love to hear it crafted in such a way, because it's the truth. The truth of the matter is from what I understand, is that you still feel that you found a passion in doing this, and you found that your cultural relevance and your voice that you're lending is impactful, and you find something, you know, deeply fulfilling about that. I would want to hear about that than just, I had to get up, we had to get away from that last thing. Or come on, man.
I can never doubt myself, I know better. All of you critics be acting like you know better. Blowing the smoke, but I know when the dust settles that I'm in my element. It's evident that there's levels to the game. All of those dark nights I got then, breaking my back to make it out, got me feeling like pain. I ain't never need your help, I know you wishing me well. A penny for your thoughts, but seeing no change. I snap for the sun like Diddy. The riches got a mad ass son, I'm like Billy. I ain't never switch up, whole team with me. Putting on for my city like OAG.